There we go. Okay, cool. Okay. So, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank,
I'm just kidding. It's
thank
not
you.
really. So, what I'm going to do today is going to start with, of course, your basic natal chart, which wasn't so basic, but let's take a look here. So I have some files open, and I usually make this really kind of casual. I like casual feel. It's more natural for me, you know. And I'm going to share my screen here, show you what it looks like. Okay. Then I'm going to read you.
All right.
Some people find that scary, like, what? But yeah, I'm sure you're okay with that. All right.
Yes,
So you can see the chart. Let me know if you can.
I can. Yeah.
Okay. It's also for technically like the my followers. So, all right. So usually what people start with is your basic. First of all, there's the flow of the chart itself, like what it looks like. I see a lot of planets spread out. So that means you're kind of technically, you're either, usually it means like you're everywhere, or that you are kind of like you're quite talented. You're everywhere. You're multifaceted person. At least your journey is, right? Um, Usually what happens to when I say that, I don't just mean like multifaceted. I mean like sorry, sometimes I lose my train of thought. They
No
because I
problem.
saw it in your I was reading through your chart like actually about an hour ago, and I noticed, oh, okay. I'm gonna tell you in a little bit what that is. It's like, ooh, suspense. Um, but again, your chart is basically what I see the chart to be, or at least astrology. Astrology is a tool. We are a tool too. This body is a tool, blah, 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 blah. So with astrology being a tool, it shows us not only what our journey is, but basically the way I see the chart or the natal chart is kind of like your soul contract. Kind of, sort of. Like it's what you go through, it shows it's not because it's not just soul contracts. The charts reveal so many things. Astrology is a form of divination. I don't know. Do you do any divination stuff? Like
If I do,
tarot,
no, I've
tarot
heard the word.
cards? Oh,
No,
okay.
no, I haven't.
Okay. It's basically using tools to channel.
Hmm. No, I
Yeah.
haven't done that.
Okay. Okay. Do you do channeling? I think you have, I show you later, but it's like, I'm just curious about your experience.
Hmm. All right, let's take a look
Okay.
at that.
Okay. Okay. So, let's see. So, yeah, so there's a lot of planets everywhere. And then so in astrology, I'm not going to go too much into like to try to educate you because I noticed that your sun and your moon are more, you like to connect more. It's more about the pleasure, it's more about simplicity of things. So I'm going to try to keep it simple. Um, not as
Yeah.
simple as in like not to give you a headache. Okay. Um, so there is usually what people call like the triad. You have your ascendant, right? You have your ascendant, you have your moon, and then your sun. Whatever order it is. Usually it's the ascendant. So we usually start with the ascendant. Um, so ascendant is basically like they call this, it's how you present yourself to the world. It's how you put together yourself, like you're kind of like your package. It's like, this is who I am. This is who I want to show people, like at least my identity, it's like it's like the precursor to the actual identity itself. Like, when you say I am something, that's the first house. So when I say house, I mean like, usually it means like kind of like the where in astrology, meaning like the areas in our lives, but it also pertains to specific things. So it's not, astrology isn't always literal, but it isn't always also figurative. So it's kind of both. It
Hmm.
swings both literal and figurative, literal, figurative. Yeah. Um, and so with your ascendant, first of all, in Taurus, what that usually means basically is that you like to appear just good enough and refined enough that it's like, okay, I'm going to wear what I want and then show you that I wear it. It's like, it's very straightforward. This is what you get. What you see is what you get. Right.
Mm.
There's also probably like, you probably once in a while like to kind of look a little good, not necessarily for the sake of looking good, but to kind of feel good, to feel pleasure in what you look like. Like, so if it's comfortable, that's one thing for sure. Um, and so you also appear quite like very matter of fact. When people sense you, you give off this vibe that it's like, oh, okay, okay. Sorry, I want to make sure I ask this. Do I see you? Do you identify with they, she? What do I use for? I want to make sure
Uh,
because sometimes like,
she,
okay,
her. Yeah.
just making sure. Okay. And sometimes I make a mistake. I'm like,
No, no, no,
oops.
no worries.
Okay. Um, what do you call this? Okay, so yeah, so you like to appear the kind of like simplistic, earthy, very grounded sort of feel. You embody that Taurus energy as well. Um, but what that usually means is that we look into the opposite of that energy, that part of ourselves, which is how we relate to people, um, which is was in Scorpio. It's opposite. So we're dealing with. Are you familiar with shadow? Have you done shadow work?
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't done it, but I'm, yeah, familiar.
Okay. Okay. So shadow is basically like for a lot of people now, they know that it's a part of us that we don't want to accept. It's a part of us that we reject, disown, and neglect and avoid because it's either too scary, too painful, distasteful, or it's just like kind of, and it's also subconscious. It's a subconscious thing.
Mm.
Especially when we were children. Oh yeah, we just, in order to be accepted into society or the family we were in, we had to follow what they wanted to do. And so that's kind of what comes up here. You have your general environment in your descendant was in Scorpio. I'm going to go into these planets here, what that means. So you're in Scorpio, it means that you're in a family environment, not just necessarily family, but also like general environments or relationships that as a child you had to succumb to and follow and obey in order to survive, in order to fit in order to be accepted, in order to be validated. That's a big one, right? And within Scorpio, it's like there's probably like toxic environments. Like it shows here with the Pluto placement here. Pluto is genuineness. Pluto is the use, misuse, and abuse of power. I'm quoting Judy Hall here. Um, she said that that's what Pluto is. But Pluto is also like Pluto rules viruses. Pluto rules bacteria, rot, decay, inner core change. It's basically the
The
kingdom
god
of
of death.
hell. Yeah, that of death, exactly. Death, rebirth, transformation, anything to do with the mycelial network too, like
Hmm.
mushrooms, fungus, yeah, bacteria, viruses. That's all Pluto. Um, so it's also the shadow. So a lot of shadow stuff with relationships, with things that are pleasurable, things that are what was. So there's a lot of probably like power struggles as well
Hmm.
in relationships that you were in, and you had to learn how to balance that growing up, and you had to learn how to deal with it in an emotional level because emotionally you were born with this energy of like your soul came into this body and saying, this experience feels like I need to learn this. Okay, so what you were learning is this moon of your moon is our emotions, but it's also the ups and downs of emotions, fluctuations, vibrations, energy, magnetism, attraction, your senses, what you feel around you. It's like you think of yourself as like electromagnetic field. That's the moon. That's the moon right there. You look at the moon, right? It orbits the Earth like this. But the history of the moon is funny. Just on a side note here, I know I said I'm not going to go into detail that much, but I like to sometimes.
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. And the moon actually was, according to astronomy, or yeah, according to the astronomy community, whatever, the moon was actually formed through a collision with one planet called Theia, and Theia crumbled while Earth was still whole, mostly whole. And what happened was it became like this dust around the planet, and with the with the you call this the magnetism of, because every planet, anything that has entity has magnetism. It magnetizes things, right? So with the Earth already like kind of whole, it magnetized the particles that was destroyed from Theia. And it's funny because like if you look at the mythology, the moon is actually kind of like, it's Diana and Artemis in Greek, and in the ancient Greek and ancient Roman mythology. It was Diana and Artemis. Both are similar, not the same, similar, but they represent that part of the moon. But their mother, or at least in Greek mythology, their mother was Theia. It's funny how it's all connected to astronomy. So when Theia sacrificed herself, there birthed this moon, or in Latin was Luna. That's why we see lunar like crazy. Lunatic comes from that too. So how that represents the moon itself today is that the moon represents also our sort of protective self. It's our layer. It's where we feel home. It's where we feel safe. It's the planet. We call it planet, but in astronomy, they just call it it's a moon. It's a satellite. But in astrology, all bodies are planets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The signs, so they're not planets, of course. They're just like the costumes what we wear. If the planets are the actors, then the signs, all these signs around here like this, are the clothing, the costumes that we wear, the makeup, all that stuff, right? And then the houses are the stages. So anyway, so with the moon in Taurus, usually what that means for you is you do like to feel at home with things that are pleasurable. It's actually what's called like it's in an exaltation in Taurus. The moon feels at home with Cancer. It feels at home with Cancer, meaning it rules Cancer. It's the ruling planet, is what we say. So it rules Cancer. That means it's all about the home environment, safety, security, like even codependence sometimes, or codependence or interdependence, depending on where you are in your journey. With it in Taurus, it means that it's elevated, meaning it fits right home here too, but not so much like a guest. It's like a guest in Taurus. The point is that with its rise or exaltation in Taurus, it means that you tend to feel it makes you feel comfortable to be with like things. You can kind of embody that. Money is a thing as well. Self-worth is a thing as well. Self-worth or values, things that you value. So money, food, maybe things that are very also natural. Fruits, vegetables, farming probably is something that probably is very comfortable to you. You like things that I can see right here in your house, right there. You like things to be just simple but comfortable.
You only see the empty side.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
But yes, I do like simplicity.
There you go. Yeah, you feel at home with that. Now, that ties in with your ascendant already. So right there, you embody that. It's part of the first house right here. Right here. Oops. It's part of the first house. So you embody that. It's part of your, and it's also anything that has to do with things that you things that you're curious about and you start it. It's like anything new, any project that any sort of venture, any sort of new thing, you get into that, and it's always based on this energy. But again, going back to the past, this is now your shadow. When you were involved, as you grew older, especially as a child, as you got maybe, I don't know, like around, your formative years, age 1 to 8, around there. This is what happens when I talk too much, but it's okay. It happens. It's okay.
Some water, maybe.
Okay. Oh, I'm okay. So with the power struggles there, and with the whole things weren't sure, like there was always some kind of like mystery, and kind of like not only power struggles, but like deceit. There was deceit. There's probably control, manipulation, a lot of very like dark stuff, like a very like, again, because there's power struggles, right? So what happens is that you basically, you went with that, but you actually ended up rejecting it subconsciously. So what happens is that as you got even older, you started to also manifest people, or rather manifest people, not really. You kind of attract people who are also of the same who have the same mannerisms, the same behavior, or at least it feels like that to you. Remember that a chart represents also not only our journeys, but our general perspective and perception of life itself, this life that we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the chart of your chart versus your sisters or your brothers or your siblings, and their chart, what they see as family is different from how you're going to see family. That's why it's like, it's a perception. All it is it's really what it is, right? Everything is, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyways, so that's what happens. So what happens is that, yeah, there's that struggle. So you kind of still attract that, unless you kind of grown out of that a little bit. We'll see with the progression chart what happens to that. Most likely you will have outgrown that, and you've gone into something else. So I'm gonna. Do you mind if I show into the recording your time of birth? I'm gonna ask you right now.
I guess not.
Okay. Actually, no. Okay. I just wanted to quickly. Okay, 1992. It was quick. Okay, so that means that you're still going through many things still. So you're still quite young. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like 12 years older than you. So, okay, so there's that. There's the moon. There's that experience. Now going into that, we can talk about its placement. So you have here this right here. It's called the T square. And what happens with this placement? What it signifies is that it's your wounding is about being yourself. Your Chiron is in Leo. So that means your wounding comes from being your childlike self, being creative, especially in the family as you got older. In fact, oh yeah. No. I was not going to say in fact. So I thought it was something else. Okay, I'll explain later if I need to. So definitely, like, that's a wounding for you. So that means that you also there's a lot of ego stuff involved in there. So it's almost like you had to go through this childhood experience, especially when you were, I don't know, there's something about the number here. Something happened. You're older than 21, right? Are you past that age?
31 to 30,
Okay.
32, let's say. Yeah.
Okay. I could have guessed that. With the progression chart, I would have known, but that's okay. I'm not here to do that. So something happened around the age of 21, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Something happened around that time that was like heavy. But that carries on from childhood stuff as well. Because Chiron is our deep wounding. It's about integration. It's part of shadow work. Um, with it in Leo, it's not just creativity that you kind of felt you lost. It's sort of like identity as well, right? Pride as well as part of that,
Mm.
especially in the family environment. And so how you basically had to know how to navigate those things because you had to balance your perception of yourself and the relationship you had with people, especially family, right? So there was a lot of like
Yep.
heavy stuff going on in the family environment. So a lot of challenges that were happening. What else? So that's the general gist of it. There are more things to say about that, but I don't want to say too much, like because I want to include a bunch of other things as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, oh yeah, that's definitely again power struggles. Sorry, not here. Power struggles were part of that as well. I don't know. Do you still feel like you do get that? Are there power struggles with relationships?
Hmm. Let me understand how you mean that. Um, so is it that I want to have more power in relationships, or
That and also like there's conflict with like uh control, being yourself, expressing what you want. That's kind of power struggle.
yes, I do have some control issues still
Hmm. Okay.
um, in my relationship mostly.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm working on it,
Okay.
trying to not do that too much, not
Okay.
not do that at all at
Okay.
best. But
That's okay.
yeah.
Well, you do have your Chiron opposite Saturn, but with it being opposite of Saturn up here, and in retrograde, it's almost like your wounding came also is related to balancing your relationship with the public, where you don't actually adhere to or follow or succumb to the norms, the standards of society. Not only
Yeah, I don't
society, but also,
I don't like the
yeah,
norms.
yeah. And you learn to balance that with what you're, because of your wounding, it's almost like you wanted, there's a part of you that wants to, like, especially as you got older, it's almost like you wanted to be yourself, but there was this pressure almost like with experience, especially it's almost like your family allowed you to, with all that power struggle and suppression and repression and all that stuff and abuse, it's almost like now it's more like, ah, I'm not going to take that abuse from the public. I already got that, right? So,
I can see
and
that happening subconsciously. I hadn't thought about it like that.
hmm, there you go. So, um, yeah, and so I would say it's part of your energy. It's part of what you do, and you continue to probably still experience that little bit. As you get older, it's becoming less and less. Of course, we evolve, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, and so that has a lot to do with not just the public, but also the workplace or like your any sort of career related stuff. So it could have been that you were into things that were quite unique and different, career paths that
Yeah,
were
I'm struggling
vocation.
a lot with that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. There are certain potentials to that one. Let's see, because you have this sort of like Venus. You're ruled by Venus. Venus is strong in your chart because you have your Sun in Libra, and you have Taurus, your Moon Taurus, and your ascendant. So Venus, you're a very Venus kind of person. You're not so much identity, but kind of like you like to be grounded on the earth. It's like you like groundedness. You resonate with it. Okay, let's take a look at the elements here. Okay, you have a balance of air and earth in you. So you like,
I was
oops,
gonna say that I like being grounded, but I'm very much in the air.
yes, you're logical too. Yes, so both.
Mm.
Um, one of the things you definitely need a little bit more on in your life is fire. Absolutely. You need more energy, you need more
Yep.
initiative, you need more inspiration. Also intuitiveness. It's sort of like working on that as well. Intuition. And also deep instinct as well. That's water and emotion.
Spot on.
You're yeah. So what else? Uh so you got into certain, probably you were been going into certain like jobs or kind of like vocations that were anything related to Aquarius. So anything with science, anything to do with research, science. It could be astronomy. It could be even astrology. Maybe, I don't know. Not really. Possibly, it's possible.
You
There's
know what the funny thing is? I
uh,
really wanted to go into physics when I was in
uh,
school,
mm,
but everyone was saying, "Oh, you don't like math, you won't like physics." So I didn't like math, and I went into economics, and I ended up in marketing.
okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah, weird, but that's
yeah, interesting. There must have been something going on there, but because of the Saturn in retrograde, again, that's because it's an uncertainty of like stability. Saturn rules conservation, limitations, boundaries, security, tradition, all those things. So it's almost like you wanted to follow it, but you were so uncertain. You're
mm,
with your career path, it was like uncertainty. Retrograde here, the R there, it's retrograde. It feels uncertain. It feels like kind of like wobbly. Like it's
yeah,
kind of like, yeah,
it was
and because
yes,
yeah, and that in itself affected you. You tended to listen to that the voices of other people. It's like because a lot of your wounding is from your sun. Your Leo, Chiron in Leo means that it's we're looking into the sun as well because sun rules Leo. So that means being a Libra, I'm also Libra. Um, you you waver back and forth, and you value people's opinion. You actually do, um, but you also kind of very you feel like your choices are based on a lot of this sort of transition. Like this is why you kind of go back and forth. It's like a seesaw thing. I want my opinion. I know what I want, I think. And then what do you think? What do you want? Well, so kind of like that. But because you also have your sun in the sixth house, so that means you also have Virgo. You get very technical. It's part of your energy. It's part of what gives you vitality. You you kind of resonate a lot with like anything related to health, anything related to, um, or at least like simple stuff like work. You know, making sure there's not only stability but like consistency and like this sort of like routine, right? Um, Yeah, but health related too as well as part of that as well. So, but economics that kind of ties in with the with it's more like your moon. And the reason I'm mentioning the moon here is because Taurus is the most stubborn energy or sign in the zodiac. It's the most stubborn. So your moon actually kind of trumps your sun. What I mean by that is that you go with the emotions of like your sun is your moon is a little bit more powerful. It is part of your whole chart as well. It's like it's what your journey is like your emotions towards valuing yourself, self-worth, acceptance, and simplicity of all that. Because I'm like, why you gotta be so complicated? Why you gotta be so deep and so, it's like you want to control and manipulate. Why? Can't we just be like, can't we just get along? Can't we just be, I appreciate you, you appreciate me. Let's do things together. Okay. So,
yeah,
okay. Um, Part of that is also because as humans we look for validation, right?
mm,
Being your moon in Taurus, though, you look for validation sometimes even when you don't realize it. The thing with Taurus, the Taurus energy is like kind of its opposite. It's the shadow of Taurus is shown in Scorpio. That sometimes you'll be okay with things. You have a simple way of doing things. But what happens is that subconsciously there's also manipulation that happens. because,
Yep.
because I know it's funny, but I'm like, it is what it is. I've known Tauruses. I've known Tauruses quite a long time, and there's that sort of Scorpio hidden energy there too. It's like, okay, and I can read it. I can read it right away. I'm just like, okay. So it's like out of all that desire to be simple comes complication. You see that? This is the shadow because it's like so it also comes
Yep.
out when you relate with people. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah. Questions? Any
Yep.
comments?
No,
Oh,
I'm just thinking, this doesn't help. No, yeah. Not what you're saying. I mean,
I
complexity
know.
when you want simplicity. It's like, frustrating. Yeah.
Yes. So that means that's the shadow. You have to, once you start embracing completely, like not consciously, it becomes part of your subconscious. When we start to embrace the opposite of what we want, we get
Mm.
both. We have a balance, right? The shadow is it's part of the ego. The shadow is like, it's like a tool of the ego because the ego wants preservation. It wants to survive, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Because for you, you're trying to balance things as well. Here's the shadow of the sun. With your sun in Libra, the shadow of that is that you just want balance. But sometimes out of all that balance comes imbalance.
Yep.
That's what happens to me all the time. It's just like, no, I just want things to be perfect. I want things to be symmetrical, even symmetrical. Like for me, I like things symmetrical and like even. But sometimes I'm just like, oh, fuck it. I'm just going to be like, whatever, let it be in balance because it
Mm.
doesn't work. If it's, yeah, just listen and let the guidance come through and be like, okay, right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, cool. What else do we have here? So career is one of those things that are big for you, but Venus is definitely like your strong part. It's a strong part of yourself. Um, but I wanted to go into, I know there's a bunch of other stuff here as well. Let's take a look. We'll go into those once we go into the deeper charts, like the more
Mhm.
complicated charts, and I'm going to open them up. Okay, so
Yes.
just 1 second here. So we're going to go into. Uh, Actually, I'm not going to go into that one. I'm going to go focus on. I have like focal. I did some charts. I drew up some charts after I woke up today because I was just like, oh, I forgot to do this one, and it's like, okay, so I got it.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm gonna share that with you, and it's gonna be like different. Let's take a look. Okay, so first of all, I'll go into Venus right here. So Venus is strong in your chart. Because it's your chart ruler. What that means, it's like it describes like the journey that you're probably still in. Sorry, it just got messy. Sorry.
All good.
Where's so Venus is right here. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay, so Venus is 23 degrees in Scorpio. So that means around here. Right. So we already saw you had Venus, you saw that earlier. Venus,
Yep.
Pluto. This is Pluto. Venus, Pluto conjunct your descendant. Um, Going deep into the thing we talked about earlier about your environment, the family you were in, any sort of general relationships, is that there's sort of this manipulation that happens to, but it's more about, in this case, with Lucifer there. Lucifer is about, sorry, I'm just going to look into a chart here. Oh, sorry, I have like cheat sheets. And
Yes.
what I do with that, it helps me like I don't like to memorize anything. I go with the experience.
You don't need to.
Yeah, I know. um, so Lucifer is about duality and separation.
Mm.
So part of that experience you probably still experience is um, there's a lot of probably like pride and grandiosity in the family, or at least environments that you're in. Um, Victimization, false humility is part of that as well. Um, People wanting to, or at least there's a sort of like delusion about what I put it as potential for psychosis and self-deludedness about one's identity or purpose. Because that's Lucifer, right? He was a fallen angel, according to Christian Christian myth. Um, I mean, everything in mythology is a symbolism of
Mm.
the aspect of humanity. The thing about astrology I find very interesting now, that I think for me, is that every planet, at least every planet in astrology or parts of astrology, is part of what's called the fragmentation of the consciousness, right? It's just
Yeah.
fragmentation. It means that you are more than one thing,
Mm.
meaning you're. That's why when some people get to know you, they're like, "I didn't know this about you." Well, yeah, because at home I behave differently. When I'm communicating, I behave differently. When I'm at work, I behave differently. So naturally, right?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's why there's no such thing as like I'm Libra only. I'm Scorpio. Like no, no, you're everything actually. But it's a matter of like which ones are stronger, which are what are you
Mm.
experiencing, etc. So with
Yeah.
the Lucifer there, with the Lucifer there, you also have well, actually you have a bunch of planets. You have Lucifer, you have extra. You have okay, so you have Penelope, Lucifer, Ixion, Pele, Quar, Achilles. So a lot of what I can say generally, what that means is that there was a lot of possibly like desire to in the family, or at least people that you meet, that they want to feel real. They want that real connection. They want that sort of passion and drive. They want to sort of feel like they're, at least for you in relationship, you also want this. You also want this sort of like, you want to relate with people that are, you wanted connection, or I don't know, maybe still today. But you wanted this sort of like connection, this deep, deep, like cathartic connection. Is we're talking about Scorpio here as well. So it's catharsis. It's like real, like release, like really, like
Yeah.
right.
I've
But
actually
what
come to
happens?
want this more with the years.
There you go. So, but there's a lot of hubris there. There's a lot of pride. There's a lot of like manipulation, control, a lot of like probably like grandiosity, like the whole like I'm better than you, you're better than me. So there's a lot of, again, power struggles. There's a lot of probably Penelope's here as well. I forgot what Penelope is. I have it in my, I think I have it. It's about commitment. I'm not sure. I forgot what Penelope is. Oh, I thought I had it in my notes. Haha, I don't. But she's about like unwavering commitment or something like that, like to
Mm.
marriage. I forgot. We're gonna skip Penelope right now. But there's a lot of like probably manipulation of weaknesses. So if one person is weak, the other one takes over. Or if the other one is strong, the other one kind of like succumbs to that. So there's never a balance. And there's a lot of like a lot of anger and drive and passion there. The anger and drive and passion are kind of the same thing. This is Pele. Pele is she's the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes and fire.
Mm.
So it's about wrath and rage as well. Um, Now we're talking about here like the seventh house. So we're talking about agreements. You can't see the seven anymore, but it's the seventh house is about agreements, marriages, those kind of things. So a lot of it is there's a kind of you that wants to feel like yourself, but at the same time, there's so much like power struggles. There's also like not only manipulation, but like maybe shame might be brought in there as well. Seduction, okay, um, and denial of self, or the other person denying themselves. Like denial isn't like, oh, it's okay, I know what you want. Okay, no, I'm not going to do what I want. So it's either back and forth like that.
Mm.
Again, because of the duality of Lucifer here. Ixion is about our, and mind you, I'm also doing this for the viewers. Um, so Ixion is bliss, basically.
Hmm.
It's about second chances. It's about second chances, but it's also about violations. So not only were, I don't know, not only was there like abuse, but also like possible physical violations.
No, none of that.
Not yet. Well,
Luckily.
sorry. Okay, good. Well, or maybe okay. It could be. I mean, astrology is a language of probability.
Mm.
So it's not necessarily like you choose to do that or they choose, but it could happen depending on how conscious you are. Right? The more conscious you are, the more most likely these kind of things kind of like fade away. But the
Mm.
experiences of those who are around you who are unconscious definitely probably inflicted that on you. Um, the core here represents your need to sort of like go with the flow and be in the rhythm of the whole thing. Because core represents well, it's flow. It's the rhythm of life. It's the heartbeat.
Mm.
Um, let's see here. Core is not just that, but it's also um, maybe what is it called? It's kind of like Chiron, but core is more about transition. So sometimes maybe you had to go through sort of like um, transitions, like from one relationship to the other, or at least not necessarily relationships, but like actually any relationship. It's almost like this is sort of like if that doesn't work, then you go to the next one, or
Yeah.
something like there's almost like this sort of like maybe they became some sort of a conduit for you to move to another one. It's kind of like you had to go through which each relationship and test it, kind of like to see where it was. Um, I'm also
Mm.
getting here. Okay. So it's also about recognition of like past life trauma towards healing, because it's all about transitioning, right? So you also probably did you experience do you meet do you often meet people from other countries?
I am in a different country right now, so there are many internationals.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay, so there you go. So relationship has a lot to do with that too. Like foreigners possibly, but it's kind of like it's more has to do with multiculturalism.
Mm.
Yeah. Um yeah. So it's all about transitioning and then separating. That's core, but that it's because if you think about rhythm itself, it's not just like in one consistent thing. Rhythm is going do. It's kind of like a jumping effect, right? So that along with all these things, it's like it's one of the things that you go through, but it also makes you kind of question your own strength. You have Achilles here, and I don't know if you've ever studied your own history, like the Greek mythology. I don't know if you ever done that, but
I remember the basics.
oh, okay.
Yes.
So Achilles is we know him as weakness, right? But Achilles is actually hidden weakness. Achilles is not
He
just
was basically mortal, but had one
weakness. Yeah,
yes, one
yeah,
weakness.
his heel. um, so anything to do with like things that we kind of take for granted, it's kind of like we're so it's almost like we get to this point of almost like this sense of completion, like it feels whole, but there's something there. Achilles represents loopholes as well. Any sort of loophole, there's something there. There's something there. There's always like this little crack in the whole, this whole thing. So there's that.
Is it
Um,
also about focusing on the small negative instead of the
Possibly, yeah. Yeah,
many
absolutely.
positives? Mm.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's right. So this is all like when it comes to relationships, but also like any contracts or anything you agree to. There's something there. And you're like, and that's why sometimes when you find that, it's almost like maybe you kind of maybe you exaggerate that a little bit. I don't know, or you have experienced that, other people exaggerating it. There might have been this sort of like not only manipulation, but like anger. It's like, oh, I'm not getting this, and they blow up the whole little thing. They make the little thing and they blow it up into proportion, out of proportion rather. Right.
Mm.
So a lot of that stuff, those are kind of experiences with your general relationships. It could be it could be romantic, it could be general relationships, agreements
Yeah.
that you have, contracts. Um, it's also part of your shadow as well. Your shadow, any shadow. I don't know if you actually do. I don't know if you actually like consciously work on shadow work, or you told me you know about it, but I don't know if you've ever done that. So.
I'm trying to be conscious of it, and with awareness, hopefully, I also do work on it.
Mhm.
But I don't follow a specific process for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like not like a method or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just therapy and awareness.
Yeah. And it goes back to this whole thing where it's like, oh, you're wounding about the whole thing. You're wounding about yourself is quite strong. Now we're gonna go jump into like how that relates to back to your body itself, but also like how you present yourself, your basically your overall perception of the world.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of chaos, that's internal chaos, a lot of internal like strife and chaos and unsettledness inside, because you have it in Taurus. Right? Ate in the mythology. She was Eti. I don't know. She was the daughter of Eris,
Huh.
Eris or dysnomia, harmony. Basically, the opposite of harmony. She was the goddess of strife and chaos and like um. But Ati is the her daughter. She was her father was Ares. No, her father was Zeus. Sorry, but there are several. In the mythology, they have different like
Yeah,
lineages.
they
So
all had sex with everyone and children everywhere. So
freaking orgy. So yeah, so there's a lot of internal questioning of like your emotions right here, but you didn't know how to necessarily deal with that. Know how to deal with that energy, especially as a young person. It's almost like this chaos was like that's why you wanted so much to be stable. You wanted so much to ground yourself into many things. It could be, um, I don't know, it could be anything like uh, any sort of thing, like things that you enjoy, things that you actually, because you're with the moon in Taurus, it also means that the moon is our eating habits.
mm,
So that means like anything like possibly like usually it's fruits, vegetables, but it could also be fried food. It could also be like heavy type of food that is very like as long as it makes you feel comfortable, as long as it makes you feel like not only comfortable but relaxed. um I
comfort
wouldn't say
food for the win.
sweets. Comfort food, absolutely, comfort food is, yeah, for sure, is that.
Yeah.
um but let's say Taurus rules this area of the body, the ears here, so it couldn't just necessarily be like actual food. It could be auditory food, maybe good music,
Mm,
right? Relaxing music. So with the things that you watch as well, anything that you saw, not necessarily directly the eyes, but sort of here, things that smell good as well, right? That's part of like your body. It's what you look for. Again,
mm.
there's that because of all that internal chaos. Um, but you also kind of question your ability to. I just got Midas recently. So when I do research on these, what you call asteroids, I do research on them. There's so much to work on them. But I love the fact that I discover so many things about myself that it's like, oh, that's right. The little details. Oh, that's so cool. When I discover these like additional, it keeps going. It keeps growing and growing and growing. So
So are these asteroids? the
Yeah,
names?
Midas is an asteroid. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And based on the mythology, he was Midas. He was King Midas. He touched everything. He has the golden touch, right?
Gold. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's basically about satisfaction, or inner wealth, right? So you kind of question where your wealth was. So there might have been times where you probably overspent on things. You bought things that were expensive, maybe. That's possible.
I have.
So
Not overspent, but expensive stuff, yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. There you go. And then you also took risks on it as well. Sometimes it was kind of like risky, and you just kind of because you wanted to. Um, there was just again that there was this part of you that was just like, well, you doubted your zeal, your inner zeal and energy. You kind of like wanted to kind of feel. Um, you just wanted to feel like excited about things, or at least that you
Mm.
get especially with new things, you get excited about it, but you kind of question that, should I? I don't know, should I? There's a lot of doubt in it, so you kind of wonder, should I spend on that? So either you spend on things that are expensive or like cheap. It's kind of like waivers. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
There's the other part here that is kind of confusing sometimes. Sethos is Set in Egyptian mythology, of course. And he betrayed his brother. But Set is, did I finish Sethos here? I'm trying to see here. Hmm. Okay, like you had a darker side to that. So basically, but you didn't know whether to, I guess you kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I'm probably going to go back to that. But there's something about the darkness in money making, and also like that's what money making, like spending money. There's a darkness to it. It's almost like it. Yes, Taurus rules things that are money related, but Taurus is also about like the dark side of Taurus is shows up in Sethos, where it's like I want to buy it because you're like, but I deserve it. Do I deserve it? Hmm. So there's this internal like struggle inside. You're like, I'm deserving of this like gift of this the possession that I have. I deserve that because fuck y'all kind of thing. But then you also feel kind of like I'm being negative. Oh shit. What the
Yeah.
hell? Right?
Mm.
So yeah, there you go. Okay, so there's that's just the gist of it, because we're just talking about the first house. But there are things with the body as well. I want to kind of go into that with I'm going to go back to Ate here. Sorry, one second. I like to go into a little bit of medical astrology, which is like the body and health. Um,
Nice. Interesting.
let's see. What do we have here? Something to do with the nervous system and muscles. Twitches? Do you twitch sometimes? Like,
My eyes sometimes.
okay. Okay. Okay.
I can't think of any. Here and there. It's not too much.
Okay. With the Chiron, let's see here. With the Chiron, do you think, I think you inherited uh first of all, Chiron rules. Okay, let me go back here. So he's actually about wounds. So you probably, I don't know, immune system. Did you probably inherited sort of immune system concerns with immune system, like low immune system, or the opposite,
So far,
exaggerated,
it
like
works.
headaches?
It works great.
Okay.
So far,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm very happy with it.
Okay. What about the thighs, the thigh area, or genitals? Sorry, I'm going to go
Um,
deep into this.
I guess the hip area is very um, tight. Like
Okay.
I feel like I'm, at least my left side is always ready to run.
Ah, okay. Okay. So something with, okay. Chiron rules thighs and genitals and the immune system. But with it in Taurus, Taurus rules, again, like I said, here, right? It's right here. It's just throat, the neck, vocal cords, ears, thyroid glands. I think it's here. I'm not sure. I think it's here.
My mom had issues with those glands.
Okay.
Um,
Ah, that affected you in your birth because the first house is also represents your birth. So there could have been complications when you were born.
there were.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
was a
So,
bit early.
okay. There's the Phaethon right there. It's early. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Atta and Phaethon kind of brings it out early because it's like so like, you know,
Mm.
that kind of makes sense. Okay. Let's see here. What else?
With the
Hmm.
reproductive organs, I don't know. I guess I did have some, not too much, but like late periods and not really caring about sex much.
Okay. 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 Yeah, that makes sense because you have those well, Venus is sensuality. Pluto is the secretion. Any sort of secretion, that's Pluto, like the anus area. But it's kind of also kind of reproductive as well. But Venus is more sensuality.
Mm.
Um, but because of because we're kind of jumping back and forth here. But I noticed that when I was looking at your chart earlier, going back to this one. So, oh, sorry, this one. Excuse me. Um, you have three things here, three other asteroids conjunct your Chiron. So any sort of things that you inherited from your family could be one on a more um, representative or analogous sort of thing, like representation of what you probably inherited is this ability to uh, well, first of all, it's the wounding in your family. It's almost like it's history of like possibly wounding of like beauty, something to do with beauty. Hold on, double check here. Hebe is not just beauty. Hebe is rejuvenation and balance. So youthfulness,
Hmm.
right? So feeling like, but also it could also be like, oh, that explains the birth. Got it. It's square your moon. Okay, got it. Right here. So Hebe is miraculous births, like or the opposite, like miraculous birth. So it's okay, that makes sense. And but she's also about youth, mm, youth and beauty, service as well. Sorry, servitude, eternal youth, undying service. It's interesting here. Messages of the body, just things that your body tell you to, because you have also Asmodeus here. Asmodeus is was he was a demon of lawlessness or uh, ah uh, wrath and anger, punishment, control, seduction, sexual attraction. Um, but because you have this pain in it, it's almost like you don't want to go into that direction. You don't want to go into uh, the sort of yourself that is like about lust and anger. And that's Asmodeus. So,
Yeah,
and because you
that's
also have child there,
that's true.
yeah. So because you also have child there, your wounding of your child means that you kind of lost that ability to embrace part of your sexuality, your sensuality and sexuality, because you also have here, it's square your Venus right here, right? And Pluto. So that because of all the stuff you carry, not only from here, but also like when you were younger and past lives as well, it's like there's huge confusion about your own sexuality, even being romantic, right? It's in Leo. So being childlike, being romantic, being free, being creative, being yourself, your identity. It's almost like I don't know who I am anymore. How do I help people? So there's a lot of that. The wounding, it's these other asteroids revolve around Chiron, which is like that whole like. So you have to
Yep.
integrate this part of yourself, your childlike self, your sexual nature, lust as well as part of that, and your own inner beauty, which ties into your Taurus, your moon in Taurus, because it's a you want to appreciate the beauty of life itself in your own the inner beauty and the outer beauty. You want to accept that, but it's like internal, the subconscious struggles. You're like, right?
Mm.
I hope
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yep. It does.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Again, going back to the whole, let me see what Midas is here. Talking about your body. So again, satisfaction. So physically speaking, something to do with fertility. Oh, okay. So fertility, cell division, reproduction, mutation, and genetic variation, self-replication. Probably the ears and lobes here. I'm not sure. That's weird.
What?
Fingerprints.
What do you mean with all that? From reproduction to earlobes. What?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Mutation and genetic variation. Mutation. Because you're changing from you might have represented like he transmuted things into gold, right? He made them into gold. So that's mutation.
Mm.
Medically speaking, but medical astrology. Yeah, it's mutation. So something happened at birth, possibly. The kind of um self-replication. You didn't have a were you born with any cysts, any sort of like not necessarily cysts, but like maybe a twin? Was there a twin?
I don't know anything about a twin. I know
Okay.
that my mom had um, was going to have another baby before me, but they decided not to.
Mhm. Okay.
But that's
Okay.
not the same. I don't know anything about a twin. I can ask them.
Okay. 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 Interesting. Okay. Um, hands, fingerprints, friction ridges. I forgot what those are. That's not friction. There's something about friction ridges are like the what do you call that? Something
In
about the
between.
skin itself. Yeah.
Ah,
Um, let's see. Papillary dermis. That's part of the skin as well. It's the part that continues to replicate. It's the one that gives replication. It's the one that heals. Also mouth, lips, tongue, and oral cavity, which ties in with the Taurus. It ties in with that. Vocal cords and neck. Pineal gland, of course, right here. Pineal gland.
so when
So
when
again,
you're saying these, is it that there are issues with these,
there
or
could have
what?
been when you were born, or it's part of your body, or at least you don't know about it because again, it's in retrograde. We have it in retrograde, so it might have been something a record in your medical records. I don't know. There's something. Again, astrology is a language of probability. We don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Uh
not that I know of.
okay, cool. There's also things about the small and large intestines. This explains your tightness, muscular knots. There you go. It's part of your body. Bacterial, viral, fungal, bacterial or viral or fungal organisms adopted by the body, like cold and flu. We adopt to those, right? We adopted. Yeah, we adopted to those, and it's part of our system now.
Mm.
Um, maybe gastrointestinal tract. Again, your skin. Um, uterus, ovaries, lungs, saliva, mucus. like saliva, yeah. Anything to do with the microbiome of the human. So that's Midas. Let's see what Ate is. We talked about that. Ate is about something else. I forgot what it was. And there's also Phaethon, which I believe something to do with the head. Because if it's energy, something to do with headaches. I'm not sure. 1 second here. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Neurotransmitters, inflammation, yep. Depression or vitamin C deficiency. Again, yes, headaches and inflammation.
Vitamin C.
Fevers. Did I say C? Or D, I meant.
D.
Vitamin D deficiency, yeah.
I did come to Denmark. I've been living here for 7 years. So that would make sense.
Okay, cool. How about any fevers or acid reflux?
No.
Okay.
Unless I do something really too much.
Yeah, that's
Which
right.
is actually, that's okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So there's that. Sethos, I don't know what it is yet. Something to do with cabbages. I'm not sure yet. I don't know yet. There's always more to discover. This reading is not the only reading, right? I mean, there's more. But you like things simple, so again, I'm gonna keep trying making it simple as possible. Let's take a look.
I am also curious, so
Okay, good. And that helps me because I'm like, I want to help. I want to also test this out. So thank you for being a guinea pig.
Thank you for all this, for doing all this work.
You're welcome. So obviously here there's a lot of like planets.
Yes.
So your sun is the sun. I didn't really go into the deep, like what sun is. The sun is our vitality. The sun is what gives us energy. It's what makes it creative. It rules Leo, but the sun is more about. It's really identity. It's how we feel, like we just like the sun. If you look at the sun, it's freaking huge, right? So it's just this massive energy of like, it's really the word energy is the key word for the sun. So it's vitality for sure. But I noticed here that there were several planets that I'm going to kind of skip these two, but because this is for later. I don't know much about Vulcan and Hidalgo, but there's something about Spanish people. I don't know if you are meant to, because Vertex. Do you meet a lot of like people from like Spanish speaking people at work?
Not really, no.
Okay,
more
so the Hidalgos,
Italians.
More Italians. Okay, cool. Yeah, then sometimes there are some astrologers that kind of have these interpretations of the asteroids. It's like, what's that? But there's a possibility too. But I mean, I don't know. That's not the big thing. But anyways, so you have all these planets. You have Ganymede, Eos, Psyche right here. It's a part of your identity that is about being of not only service, but like, okay, so Ganymede, it was the cupbearer to Zeus. I don't know what the ancient Greek pronunciation of that was, but Ganymede was his unwanted service. He was taken by Zeus as his cupbearer. In fact, they were lovers. He was a younger lover. So Ganymede also represents like older people, older lovers or younger lovers, right? Eos is about new beginnings. Eos is about ignoring the kind of in denial of things that have been boring, things that are of the past, regrets of the past. So you start anew all the time. Every time there's new, right? I think that's probably why you like new things. Like you're like curious about this whole thing because it's like, oh, it's something new, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, but Psyche was she was the lover of Eros. But Psyche is like basically kind of like um, soul love. It's like how you connect on a soul level. Psyche, intense connections, psychic abilities. Okay,
Do
I
you
think you
see
have
psychic
those.
abilities in there?
Yeah, yeah. It
Hmm.
could be part of what you might at least identify with. If you, especially if you work on it more on, I think maybe something to do with like if you go from the heart, because the sun also rules that area of the body right here. The psychic abilities, I'm not sure, but let's take a look at because we're
I
talking
grew
about.
up I grew up so far from spirituality that it seems like really mm, impossible. But
Hmm,
who knows? I've
yeah,
come closer now the past few
okay.
years.
Hmm. You'd be surprised though. Earth, your moon in Taurus. You'd be surprised how moon and earth and air can actually be um, can give you psychic abilities. It's a little different um, than fire and air. Fire and water are kind of different. They for them it's a little bit more instant. But you do have Mercury in Scorpio, so you act very. Your thoughts are very like you're like me. I have Mercury in Scorpio too. Um, you have this ability to see things. If someone's hiding something, you can see right through them. You have
Sometimes,
this sort
yes.
of ability. Yeah, that's psychic as well. You have this sense. It's
Ah,
like something's going on here. Like just something weird. Like you just go like, I don't know, right?
mm. Is it
Um,
what is called like
yeah.
an empath?
Yeah, it could be. There's a potential for that. It's more about psychic abilities rather than
Mm,
empathy. But yeah, there could be because it's still water. Very sensitive. But it's not about receptivity. Empath is more receptive. It's more psychic.
mm,
So you know how to. It's almost like you can block things off. The thing is, though, it was square to your Saturn. Your Mercury is square Saturn, right? Yeah, it was square Saturn. So that means that it's but it's your square Saturn retrograde. So when you feel like when there's a part of you that is you're very earthy. So because so you have Saturn in Aquarius, right? But Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, yes, and Uranus. But Uranus was in Capricorn. So you're very earthy in this case. Air Earth is very strong here. So that means that you tend to analyze things, but sometimes you don't realize that there's something inside you that feels like maybe you kind of doubt this, right? You doubt your ability to read things. So Mercury is perception, it's the sight. Um, but it's also about communication. So you can hone that. You can hone that. But I think honing it comes from maybe for you, it's through medicine. It's through like plant medicine, maybe
mm.
through.
Haha, that's interesting.
Mm,
I had thoughts around that.
there you go. Okay. Um, you're. We're going to go deeper into this one, but I kind of want to figure out what else. Okay, so Psyche, because we're talking about the sixth house, we're talking about health, right? So Ganymede, let's see here. I'm going to go back to Ganymede. So Ganymede in the sixth house has something to do with like hormone molecules, libido. There they go. Your libido, yeah, puberty, uh, the the telomeres. I forgot what the telomeres are. I don't know. And
What
there's a
um what makes us grow old, I think.
okay. There you go. Yeah, you're right. So there's something to do with that.
Mm.
With Psyche there, that kind of ties in with Eos, actually. You go back to the beginning here. something to do with some the circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm, melatonin, could be light therapy, um, uh, age-related diseases, Alzheimer's, ath- atherosclerosis, Parkinson's, osteoporosis.
Oh my,
I'm not
all the
saying you're
best.
sorry.
All the best.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that you'll get those, but there's a probability. But
Probability, yes. Mm.
yeah. Um, but with psyche there, I think that changes everything with psyche there. Let's see what it is in the body. I have this shortcut that I do. Like, I don't know, on PC, you say control find
Mm.
or command find on the computer. But when I'm doing that, I'm like, there's so much stuff here. Like, I'm typing in psyche right now, and I'm like coming across a lot of psyche, psyche, psyche. But I'm like, I'm looking for the asteroid psyche. Okay, I found it. Okay. Okay, so physically speaking, psyche is about the pineal gland and the digestive system, possibly. So
Mm.
once you come in contact more with these things, and having your body, as optimally as possible, healthy as optimal as possible, it's never perfect. I would say the likelihood or the chances of you getting Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, any of those age old stuff, like old age related stuff, is probably going to go down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But you do have this sort of knowing about it. You have Cassandra. Cassandra is an internal knowing. Cassandra is like it's sort of like your instinct. Um,
Intuition?
instinct, intuition, yeah, yeah. Because Cassandra rules the nerve cells, the neurotransmitters between that. So she has this connection. Right? Also pineal gland as well, that possible area. But there's also Sisyphus. Sisyphus is, you know this from mythology, right? He was the one that the boulder, right?
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, because he was punished. But what that symbolizes is that, physically speaking, it's eternal stuff. So we're talking about HeLa cells. These are the immortalized cells in the body. So the hema cells, embryonic cells, stem cells, but also subconscious part of the brain back here. I think it's called the lizard brain. It's close to the lizard brain.
Mm.
So what that means for you? Oh, with Nessus, I've got Bella is just beauty. I don't think I did anything on Bella here. Nope, it's just beauty in general. But I did something on Nessus. Nessus is abuse, potential for abuse, but Nessus is actually potential for abuse or trauma. So maybe trauma, physical trauma, that you probably go through that might contribute to your lack of vitality sometimes. If you stick with that, it's like, ugh, right? That's why you have to heal. And I think personally for me, this is why I do shadow work. So
Mm.
that's just so Nessus is the reptilian brain. Okay, that ties in with this one. Um, it also rules electrons. I would say the electrons in the amygdala, hippocampus, somewhere here, nervous system, prefrontal cortex up here. Um, there's something more about Nessus. I have to figure that out somehow. I'll find it somehow. But there's something to do with the nervous system and all that stuff. So anything age related, low vitality, because if you're low vitality, you feel very kind of like, and your body
Yep.
will respond to that, right? Yeah. So by healing at least part of your past, because you have here, it's square. A lot of your planets here, especially up to basically up to the sun right here, they're all square Mars. But you have Mars in Cancer. So what that means is that Mars in the third house, so first of all, Mars in Cancer means that you don't really express your anger directly. You can, but it's almost like you cover it up. You go, you just hide it,
Yep.
and you don't want to because it's kind of uncomfortable. Um, uh, so I would say with Mars in this one is like you're bound to experience certain inflammations if you don't release anger in a healthy way. Inflammation is that headaches, possibly. That's the top one right here. Headaches. Mars rules headaches. Mars rules muscles as well. That explains
Mm,
it too. But it's particularly when you don't communicate somehow, learn or communicate those how to work with that anger. So expressing it
yes.
in a very yeah. How have you? Let's see. Oh, and it's also opposite of Neptune Uranus. So that means that the the sort of um, the instability or the unexpected, I guess you can say the instability, unexpectedness, and the sort of weirdness about like particularly like foreigners, maybe in like anything to do with foreigners, big business, or your like your own sort of philosophy. Because I think when you went to university or any sort of college or higher education, any form of higher education, or your own personal philosophy, when you started developing that, it was very weird, right? You had to go through things that were weird, but in a more grounded way. Like it's almost like you have this, you had to learn, and you learned from that. You became wise through that. So you developed this sort of like unusual um, belief system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but that in itself, because of the energies of Neptune, is a disillusion. Neptune is magic. Neptune is illusion, delusion, addictions, also drugs, those kind of things. So that's possible. Maybe you went through
Mm.
unusual drug phases. I don't know. Escape. Neptune also
Unusual
rules
as
escapism.
escapism. Yes, I have some of that. I had some of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yes.
So particularly with your anything to do that affected your ego or reputation, because Capricorn rules the 10th house right here. Um, so uh, yeah, because it's almost like society puts a pressure on you to be like that, and so that kind of gets you riled up internally. You have this sort of bottled up anger inside you. Um, I don't know if you've ever experienced pain through like the upper part of the body, like your
The
chest area
back.
here, the breasts,
The back.
um, the back. Ah, okay, yes, that's cancer too. Yes. So yeah, so you had to learn how to balance that. But what happens is that the square here to your in comes to your health. If you don't release all that, if there's no balance itself, most likely your health will be affected. That's a huge thing. So working with the instabilities of life and working with that whole every time there's a balance, your a lot of your chart stuff shows me like you need balance.
Yeah.
Not just yeah,
Yes.
and I know you like that. As a Libra, you want that, right?
I mean, as you
Um,
said before, balance brings imbalance.
yeah,
So it's not that easy.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you don't need to balance. Sometimes balance means imbalance.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah. Um, there's something about Vulcan here. I feel like there's something about working hard at relationships. I don't know.
I'm. I guess I'm loyal, if that's
Yeah.
what that means.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So it's funny how you said you guess you're loyal. It's okay. You don't have to. There's
There were
loyalty is. Mm,
one or two um, uh, cases that I wasn't that loyal,
okay.
but
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I can understand why sometimes you also hesitate to reveal information, specifically maybe about your health, because you also have Mercury in Scorpio. So you have this sort of like, even though your sun is in Libra, you're friendly, you want to relate with people. First, you have to really gain their trust. You feel like you have to gain their trust in order for you to really be vulnerable, right?
I'm afraid of being vulnerable with things that I feel like I've done wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. There's the Ganymede showing up right here with the Libra thing. It's you want to help others, but you can't help them if they don't accept you unconditionally and especially validate you if you don't feel validated. Yeah. Libras are us Libras, there's something about us that is like gentle but also hard at the same time. But we're very quiet about it. We're like our other ruler, the ruling. Okay, when I said ruling planet or ruler, is Eris. I don't many not many astrologers use Eris. Um, I didn't put it here, but Eris is the Eris rules absolute inclusion. Libras want real connections. We do actually want that, but we're so gentle about it that sometimes we're just like we're more of a reactive. Our shadow
Yeah,
comes from our opposite sign, Aries. Aries is all about initiative, go and get it, do it, start, initiative, assertion. Libra is the opposite. We react. We wait. You usually wait for others. We
sounds
prefer
like
to wait.
masculine and feminine energy.
Kind of, yes, kind of, yeah.
Mm.
Astrologically speaking, they're technically called masculine, but they're both masculine. Air and fire are masculine. What I mean by
Ah,
masculine here is it's more expressive energy.
mm.
But air is more reactive. Fire is the initiator. Air is reactive. It kind of follows that. And then water and earth are the feminine energies, right? Um, where earth is more of the kind of initiative energy, not really. It's practical. Whereas water responds to that.
Mm.
Or is it the opposite? I forgot. I'm still, yeah.
I guess
But it's kind
the water flows into Earth, so Earth is receiving the flow, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
That's how I would
Yeah.
perceive that.
Mm-hmm. A lot of gemstones. Do you work with gemstones? I think you've never
No.
worked with gemstones. A lot of stones are it's not just earth, it's through water, right? It's through
Mm.
the accumulation of water. Without water, there is no, well, one, there's no life. And two, there wouldn't be any cohesion. Have you ever observed how the elements behave? Earth, fire, air, water. Have you ever observed it? Not just by not thought, like sensed it. Have you ever sensed it and see how they behave?
Hmm. Not per se. No.
Okay. Yeah,
Not
because
not in
like
that
water.
way.
Okay, no, that's okay.
I have observed
Good.
water, but not. I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm observing water right now.
Well, it can be a meditative process,
Hmm.
so that's very helpful. I noticed that water is actually. You notice how water sticks? It has a very stickiness to it. It's natural. It's a natural adhesive.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, so that means it represents dependence, connection, right? Air is kind of like that too, but if you look at it, H2O, water, right? H2O. But if you take out hydrogen, you got oxygen. That's air. So there's an element of attachment in air. But we're kind of like what do you call this? Oxygen is kind of like it's given rather than expected. That's why there's that initiative energy, the masculine energy of air, which is like, here you go. take it or leave it. Okay. We're more objective about things, but there's an underlying tone. There's an undertone of, we hope you're going to take it, right? There's a connection. There's that air. Air is about that connection too, but it's more, it's like, let's just let you go. That's why air is air. Here you go. Do you want oxygen? Here you go. But with the hydrogen there coming together, it's almost like the hydrogen is that, it's that subconscious part of water that goes, here you go, but I think I'm going to make you do it. I'm going to make you attach. I'm going to make you connect. So I don't know. I don't know if you're getting this, but I guess I think you are. So yeah, you do have Cassandra right here in your sixth house. So I think there's a sense of you that just knows. Cassandra is just like this inner knowing. She's about visions, prophecies, uh, those kind of things. Yeah, she just knows. Nobody believes her
Yeah.
too. Oh, nobody believes her. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, where
Yes, I was going
maybe,
to say that. I see, hear, experience things that I'm like, okay, yeah, these feel true. And then I say that to my boyfriend. He's like, how can you go with something that you just feel is true without any proof?
uh-huh,
I'm like,
uh-huh.
it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And then it goes back to this whole thing where you try to be yourself and vulnerable with your Venus there. But then, it's almost like there's still people in your life that kind of question that, and like you feel
Mm,
invalidated, right?
yes,
Yeah.
and shrink.
Yeah, that's right. We already went through that. So, oh, there is, I forgot to mention this. When it comes to your career or like your vocation, any sort of reputation stuff, this is 10th house, your bosses, authority figures. You don't know kind of how to set boundaries. You kind of have this,
Yep.
but you still want to be natural. You want to be natural about things. You want to be wild, actually. It's an inner wildness about yourself. Opposite of Asmodeus, child, and Chiron, the wounding that you had back when as it's also, I would say this whole wounding thing is also inherited. It's a family line wounding of, misidentification, disidentification. It's, and so what happens is almost like that causes you to be imbalanced with being your complete wild self, like your true kind of like, I want to be free. And but at the same time, Diana is like that too, right? Both are goddesses of the hunt, both of them, right? But Diana is more about protection. Diana is more about the boundaries.
Mm,
So it doesn't come through. It's almost like, because it's in retrograde, right? So, yeah. Does that kind of make sense? Does that?
yes,
Okay.
completely. I experienced both those things.
Yeah. And that in itself, you don't know how to be at home, especially in like any sort of workplace, or especially if it's like you feel is your career, or just bosses in general, authority figures. It's like you can't be relaxed. It's almost like this tension,
Mm,
right? Yeah.
yep.
Uh, there you go. So that in itself, right here, you have this whole grand fixed square right here, right there. This is a big one in your chart. This is probably one of the things that you continuously work on all the time, all the time, all the time, because it's a so aspects, all these lines you've been seeing here are called aspect lines. They represent the potential or what could happen
Mm,
in astrology. So that's why I was able to tell you, it's like, okay, this might have happened. But I don't go into the specifics necessarily, like what might have happened, but I'm close. So so
yes.
the other thing about you is that I forgot to mention that because your sun is in Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus and actually Eris. A lot of astrologers don't use Eris that much, like I said earlier. But with Venus in Scorpio, you also have this Scorpio energy about you. You like risk taking is a part of you as well, which ties in with your first house placements earlier. I don't know. Remember, we talked about that earlier here, right? It ties in with that, right? You like to take risks with certain things, specifically anything to do with making you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it feels good, okay, I'm going to spend on it. As long as my relationship with someone is, I think it feels good. Maybe because Libra loves love. So if you feel this sense of like, I think I can trust them. Okay, yay! You're kind of a little technical about it. You're not really straightforward like that kind of emotion because, again, your Chiron in Leo. It means that you're being expressive in your childlikeness is kind of hard, but it's inside you.
Yes.
You feel it. Yeah, yeah. So, what else? Okay, so now we're gonna go into. Do you have any questions?
Oh, do I? There's so much going on.
Oh, it's recorded, so
Yeah. Yes. I mean, coming up with questions on the spot.
Oh, you don't have to.
I
If
don't.
you do
I don't
have
have
like,
right now.
okay, that's fine. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna focus on your past life and your current, where you're headed.
Mm.
Right. This is represented by nodes. You have here your south node, and then you have here your north node right here. So usually north node by itself, in Sagittarius means that in the past you were so used to um, learning and just being open and being, having fun and being youthful, even childlike, and very curious, all about learning, flexibility. You just went everywhere. You're very curious. You just wanted to. Life was a game, and very exuberant nature. You're very informed as well. You're kind of like the master of all trades. What's it? Jack of all trades. So it comes naturally to you today, where it's like
Mm.
you know you have this and this and this. It actually showed in your chart. Remember earlier in the beginning, I said you're everywhere, and it showed in your chart right away. And it's like, oh yeah, that's her south node as well. So
Yeah.
so you're used to that. And you're actually very talented in the past. You had talent right here, and you had a lot of opportunities to get to that, to get what you wanted, to get anything to do with like just expanding. You probably traveled quite a lot, not necessarily travel like elsewhere, but like you were everywhere in your place, wherever you were, in your city, in your town. You were just everywhere. People went to you for information. People went to you for guidance, possibly teaching. You were probably a teacher back then. Um, and but it's kind of it's part of also how you made money. It's in your second house. So that means it's part of how it became part of also your self-worth. Even today, it's part of your life. It makes you feel like I have all these gifts. So it's almost like part of you wants to show it off, or wants to like, it's part of you how you value yourself. Right? Venus rules the second house, so does Taurus. Taurus and Venus are connected. They rule the second house. So it's money,
Mm.
self-worth, or money as freedom, earning abilities. So you do this anytime it has to do with money. When you earn money, it has a lot to do with these multifaceted skills that you have. However, your soul chose this life now. Now it's time to let go and not know what's ahead. And
Oh
it's more
my.
about it's more about your spirituality. It's more about your philosophy, about mastering one thing or a few things. Just about mastery now. It's about kind of learning to be by yourself and not really connecting with people. Remember, air is connection, right?
Mm.
Fire is actually not connection. Fire is solitary. Fire wants to do things on its own. Fire wants to explore. It's initiative. It wants to go and just, right? Air is spread out.
Mm.
Fire is like focus energy, right? It's intensity. So with this North Node in Sagittarius, it's almost like, so you're either working on your philosophy, your own beliefs, your own faith, your own belief system, learning more through yourself, through exploring, and also risk taking. That's like really the big thing. You have to. So then there's a bunch of things here. So I noticed right here, you have all these planets right here. So we're going to start with Astraea. Astraea is liberating values. So it's knowing when to have these your own value system and sticking with it, your own morality, your own what brings you a sense of peace, even though there are people who are against it. There's
Mm.
also Circe, which is kind of like that boundary, but it's more about Circe is witchcraft.
I'm
I don't know.
reading the book Circe at the moment.
There you go. It's about magic. So anything to
Yeah.
do with magic, transformation, transmutation, metamorphosis, seduction also is part of that. So now we're embracing your sexuality, but without you don't need to welcome anyone. You just need to have these boundaries and opening those boundaries to who it to whom it's deserving. And it's okay. You need to embrace that dark side. I think that part of you're resisting, maybe you've been resisting until now, maybe, is really learning to work with that darker energy. Because Libra doesn't
Yeah.
really like that. Right? Yeah, you're used to the air, the earth. It's very practical. It's very logical, comfortable. But now
Yeah.
it's like you need to be you need to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Feminism is also Circe is also feminism, and also she's also dragon energy. Dragon,
Drag?
archangel, yes,
Ah.
archangels.
Mm.
Ooh, getting goosebumps talking about it. I think you're meant to go into that. So something to do with like your own sorcery, your own magic.
Mm.
You could be working with herbs. You could be working potions, animalistic things, shamanism, possibly. Your own feminism, inner divine feminine. Um, oh, it's funny how it says here generational knowledge. So maybe go back into the past and figure out why the fuck am I having these like experiences? Why the fuck is like all this trauma? Maybe that's part of that as well. But it's more through downloads because you have Angel there. You have Angel. And you also have Persephone there. And you know who Persephone was, right? She was
The
taken.
one that went to the underworld with what's his name?
Hades.
Yes, Hades. Thank you.
That's okay. Sorry. I'm like,
Actually, he took her to the underworld. She didn't
yeah,
just go.
she was
Right.
raped, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily mean like your journey is not that. I'm just saying that your journey is to work with the abuse and also work with relationships and dark love. Relationships that are what do you call this? That even though you're attracted to like the bad people, like the bad boy attraction, whatever it is, bad boy,
Noted.
bad girl, whatever. Yeah. But even if that is, or even if whatever you're attracted to is bad, um, it's one of those things that you're learning to work through. Because what's happening is that with Persephone, you're learning to embrace the concepts of good and evil are very human. The human thing, right? All it is actually wholeness. It's actually all about is wholeness. So it's not about good or evil. It's more about beneficial and not beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Because good
Yep.
and evil is like this separation. And that's the ego. See, ego is separation. But in the ego lies wholeness as well. When we embrace our ego, what the ego wants, and learn to work with it, process it, transform it in a positive way. So, for example, if I were to say, like, like sometimes I swear. I don't swear because I'm angry. I swear now because it's passionate. You know, there is a bit of anger there, but it's not really like I'm resenting anything. I'm not
Mm,
resisting anything. So there's that. So yeah, so part of it is also karma, karmic healing. This is Persephone. It's also about healing her victimness and learning to work with the polarities, right? Um,
yeah.
so yeah. Uh,
Fun fact: my mom
yeah,
is called Dimitra.
really?
Yes.
That's cool. Okay. So your mother is, well, Demeter, and also what's the Roman equivalent? Ceres. He was
Oh,
the,
I don't know
yeah,
the Roman
yeah.
one.
That's okay. It's okay. I'm just wondering. So- but yeah, Demeter. Yes, yes, yes. You're right. Yeah, the mother of Persephone.
Yes.
Yeah, she was about gains and losses. That's interesting. Okay. If I look up asteroids with that name, I bet you it's going to come up in your chart somewhere. Maybe in the fourth house, because it's this is about parents, mothers. Usually it's
Mm,
mothers, but parents in general. But yeah, it's gonna come up. So there's more to, yeah. Thank you for your patience. Um,
mm, thank you.
yeah, and I would say this is where you're probably the angel here is your downloads, any connections with angelic guidance, any sort of I mean, this is what you transform with through all of these planets right here are in your eighth house. So that means you're meant to go through these transformations. You're meant to heal any sort of wounds, and also going back into the memory of those past things, recovering about what happened in the past, commemorating what is whole part of yourself, and honoring the memory that were negative and not running away from them. Because
Mm,
that's the thing about Sagittarius. Sagittarius will tend to run away from things because they're like, I'm going to go here. So the goal is to not run away from them and find the gifts behind them.
yeah.
So Nemesine, this is Nemesine. She's the goddess of memory, um, but also past experiences. And there's more to it than that. Hold on a second. Nemesine, memory, past generations, four-dimensional awareness. So timelessness,
Mm,
genealogy as well. That ties in with the whole Circe thing. It's going back to the past. It ties in with Persephone as well, the healing of that past. And Astrea is creating that sort of boundary within yourself, justice for yourself, meaning like what is now going to be right for you, standing your ground and saying, okay, I've had enough. This is it. So it's okay to balance that. There's the positive thing about the dark energy, and you can sense that. You have Venus in Scorpio, right? You have Mercury in Scorpio. Both of them are that Scorpio energy. Sometimes it's like, enough is enough, right? It's here. Astraea is
yeah.
something else though. I'm going to return to love, escaping chaos. Shadow resistance. So if you're resisting any shadow, your shadow stuff, that's Astraea too. So yeah. So are you?
Mm,
So go ahead.
huh? No, I'm thinking about everything. Yes.
Okay. So you
Go
said
on.
you're reading a book on Circe. Is that
Yes.
because of witchcraft? Or how did you come
Um,
across Circe?
I wanted to read something about mythology, and
Mm-hmm.
I the other books that I've read about mythology were very surface level, whereas this one goes into the character and the experience of Circe in this case, which yeah really attracted me. So it's deeper.
Okay. Let's take a look. You have Sedna in your 12th house. That's not connected to that. But second. I don't know. Something about mythology. You said mythology. I don't know what it is. Something probably happened. We'll have to probably look into if you got interested in something like that, it came to you. So that means there's two types of chart. I would look into that, but that's not important right now. I was just curious. So,
Mm.
yeah. So this is also where you possibly make. When I say money here, money is like yes, money, but it's more about actual wealth. So it could be actual wealth itself, but more like inner wealth as well. So it's probably where you're headed towards. So any sort of it's the north node, I would say, is stronger than just going career right here. This is career, right? Yeah.
Mm.
I forgot to mention too that your your belief system, your you call it core beliefs, lies in that um, being yourself, being real, and being childlike, and being creative, and being kind of like independent. Um, because even though you have the wounding here, the this is called the nadir. You know how we talked about the ascendant and then the descendant, right? This is another important thing.
What is the wound with the past life? Is that
A
the
Chiron,
wound
you
in a
mean?
yeah?
Yeah,
Do
that's
we
like deep
talk
wounding.
about
Yeah,
the wound in the past lives? I
yeah.
don't think we did. Can you um go through that?
Are you talking about this one, or are you talking about Chiron, like your?
Wounds from past lives. Is that I'm yeah.
Well, Chiron is
I'm
like
not
your
sure
deep
what
wound.
this means.
I'm talking about this one is your IC represents. It stands for Imam Kweli, and it's your core beliefs.
Okay.
This is more about like your growing up stuff. Your past life
Mm.
stuff is your south node.
Okay.
Yeah. However, I do see here that you have a sextile aspect to your Chiron, to your south node. So that means that if you work hard at it, or if you allow yourself to work on it, you'll be able to heal from those past wounds of like losing your identity, losing of like yourself, your sense of like sovereignty, your sense
Mm.
of like yeah, right, just being like the shining self, right? um but that's part of your core belief as well. You actually believe in this in yourself, that it's like this is what I feel things the way should be. It's what makes me feel at home. It is the fourth house, right? So, but what happens is that people don't see you that way, or at least typically they don't see you that way. They see you as like this kind of like distant kind of person. They see you as like kind of weird and unusual, quirky, and you're not really. It's almost like they see you also as cold. They see you as distant and cold. But what happens actually, you don't want that. So, but what happens is that there's a part of you that also, this is also shadow, you resist that. You resist that Aquarius side of yourself, which is weird, unusual, you know, just kind of like the mad scientist, the crazy, the weird, the unusual, the what do you call this? The game changer. Also honesty. They see you as probably honest. They see you as like you. Um, but I'm not saying that you're dishonest. I'm just saying that there's a part of you that believes that people almost see you as this person who's like, oh, you're here to help everyone. Okay. But then your core belief is more like, well, I'm doing it for myself. And so what happens is in the work, in any sort of career or vocation, and your reputation with the world, the public, they see you as like, oh, but they don't see what's underneath. They don't see that it's like, no, I'm doing this for myself. I want to do this for myself first and foremost, and then I help you.
Mm.
But what happens is that that's not what they see. It's almost like they expect you to be this sort of like this leader or this person who wants to help the world, and then forget yourself.
I feel like I'm becoming that in a way.
Yeah. Okay. So Yeah, I hope that makes sense. This is how I'm analyzing it too. So this is how I rather interpreting it. But Aquarius, because Aquarius is this energy of hmm, uh, it's like change. It's almost like you welcome change. You're open to those kind of things. But you can also be that you're maybe stubborn. Maybe they see you as stubborn, but actually your core belief also means that no, I'm actually flexible. I like being flexible. I feel at home. But you don't reveal that to the world. Or at the very least, career-wise, your vocation. Does that make sense?
It does. I don't. I'm not sure I see that exactly, but yeah, it does. I
Okay.
mean, mm, parts are
Okay.
true. Yeah.
Well, well, I mean, like your reputation is definitely directly affected by your own history with people you encounter or your family, right? You can't. It's almost like you can't really.
Reputation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Recognition, validation, truth. Actually, you
Mm,
like you praise. You want relationships to be completely like fucking to the core, genuine.
yes.
But if you're seeing that in people, it's almost like you distance yourself. And that's what they see. That's what people see. It affects you, the reputation. It's not just like your reputation, but the rapport you build with people. It's almost like they see as like, because
Mm,
like, how do you trust people? So it's like you have to be cold instead of warm because it's like, but that's not what you really believe in. You really want your core beliefs stem from I just want to be free. I just want to be myself. I just want to
I,
be, you know, yeah,
I do. Yes. Mm.
you know, yeah. So, um,
I have created a facade, I guess, to
mhm,
reduce the coldness, maybe. Um, but yeah, I at least for many years in my life, I needed a lot of time to open up to people.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. So, okay. You're reading a chart for me. I'm just kidding. Um, okay, so we've gone through pretty much most of those things. I'm actually going to go jump into a different, like, we're going to go to the website that I use. It's at astro.com. And do you have any questions about like specific events in your life, or are you curious about how much you've changed?
I am.
Okay,
Uh, yeah, I started tracking it. I don't know, a couple of years ago, but
okay,
yes, I am curious.
okay, cool. Let's see. We're gonna go into this one here. So as of today, this is how much you've changed. Can you see this?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm not going to be able to circle anything here. Just letting you know. So,
yeah, I see your
um,
mouse. So it's okay.
okay, cool.